Uh, so we are gathered here today on a very, very momentous occasion. And this is because we are all embarking on an extremely priority area of public health. Birth defects awareness and prevention, especially birth defects of the spine or neural tube defects, are a high priority area for India. Not only India, for Southeast Asia. And never before has a national campaign been launched to prevent and create awareness about birth defect. So I think it's a very, very momentous occasion of great importance for public health. And why is this so important? To understand why it's important, I would like to draw your attention a little bit to the Millennium Development Goals. I think some of you who are health correspondents probably know about the MDG, that is the Millennium Development Goals. These are targets or goals which are set up by the UN. And for 2015, they set up a lot of goals. And one of the prime goals, if you reduce one light from here, one of the important goals was a reduction in child mortality. And if you see today, in 2015, India has come down in child mortality from over 100 to about 70. But what was the target that the UN set for us? The UN set us a target of 42. So we are still far away from reaching the target of 42. And why is that so? That's because, we certainly as a country have progressed. We have a wider immunization coverage. We have tackled and controlled infections in newborn. And we have taken care, our primary health care is better than what it used to be. However, we have not addressed the issue of birth defects. And therefore, the proportion of birth defects as a cause of infant mortality or child mortality is very high. So that's why birth defects have assumed a much higher public health priority in India today than what it used to be. Another interesting and very, very alarming distinction that India has is it has the highest number of kids who have genetic and birth defects. Genetic disorders and birth defect, India has the dubious distinction of having the largest number of children. So that also is a great consideration when we say controlling birth defects is a public health priority. And I want to draw your attention to this very important conference that was recently held in March 2015 in Delhi by the Southeast Asia wing of the WHO, where they too took note and recognized that for India and for the Southeast Asia region, controlling birth defects and preventing birth defects and managing birth defects properly is a top priority. And I was lucky that I was invited there as the expert on neural tube defects. Apart from goals and targets, are we just doing this because UN has told us? No. It's because birth defects have an enormous social and economic impact. And you see in this slide, what happens when a child is born with a birth defect? They lead a poor quality of life. The impairment in many of these defects is lifelong. And if you talk of neural tube defects, it is like having paralysis since birth. So it's a lifelong impairment. At times, especially in our country, sometimes there can be a social stigma. There can be discrimination. And I have personally witnessed discrimination between a girl born with the same defect and a boy born with the same defect. Both families equally affording and well-to-do, but one with the girl child chose not to treat the defect. So I think birth defects also raise a lot of these questions about the economic impact, huge burden, and the treatment is costly. Transport from medical facility where care can be given is a big issue as far as money is concerned. India is a huge country, it's not like a small European country where you can reach one end to the other in 1 hour. Then all these birth defects, because they have lifelong impairment, require medical spending on a long-term basis. In India, given our health system, most of the spending is out of pocket for the family. So it's a huge burden on the family, on the community. And of course, there is a potential loss of earning for caregivers, for parents of children born with these defects, for other caregivers. They have to spend their time, their money, and a loss of earning when they do that. So these are the economic and social. Just look at this slide. And here are some statistics about the cost-benefit ratio. For if you prevent one child, say in Chile, then you save 12 times the amount that you would have spent on treatment. In South Africa, if you spend to prevent one child, you have probably saved, that figure is about 30. In the United States, it's above 40. My estimate is that money spent for preventing one child with spina bifida in India will be a saving of 40 times, which is required for their treatment and care. So it's a huge economic consideration. Here we have listed some of the birth defects which are very common. And if you see here at the top, you have spina bifida, which is what our campaign focuses on. And it focuses on that because it's preventable with folic acid. So I think these are the defects. Some of the heart defects can be prevented by folic acid. And many may not know that. And cleft lip and palate, which you all know, split lips, those are defects which can be prevented by folic acid. And that's why folic acid and Go Folic, in the context of the Indian under 5 child mortality, is a topmost public health priority. How do we compare to countries in Southeast Asia? You see India here, and you see that their rate of incidence of birth defect is right at the top. So you have India, Bhutan, Bangladesh, North Korea, and surprisingly you have low incidence in Thailand. But again, Nepal is very high. And some of these figures are probably the highest in the world. So India needs to do this on a war footing. It's not something, probably we should have done this maybe 15 years ago. But better late than never. And this is the distribution of neural tube defects across the world. The red areas are where the incidence is very high. And this is a slide, sorry you may not be able to read this part, but this is across various states in India. And see here, you have a very low incidence in Assam. And I would say these states compare with the rest of the world. So here we are okay. But look at this. This is in Haryana, and an incidence of 18 in every 1,000 live birds. Accepted upper limit across the world is 1 per 1,000. We are 18 times high. 18 times high. So I think it's a huge, huge, huge incident. Oh, let us welcome the folic acid ambassador of India, Ms. Ravila Tandon. And I'm very thankful for her to join us. Come. are the face of this campaign.